Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Amateur Hour Sports, live out here on a Tuesday to talk Raptors. And we had some pretty significant news that went down this week, so plenty to discuss on the way today. Of course, the focus, very likely today, is going to be on the Sasha Vezenkov wave, as well as Javon Freeman-Liberty getting waived. But also, we just had Summer League wrap-up since the last time I was live, so we're going to be recapping a little bit of what we learned in Summer League to go with it, and whatever else comes our way through the chat, through the discussion, and whatever comes through my head as we go through the stream today. Happy to be here. Happy to have you. Remember to drop a like if you enjoy. Remember to subscribe to the channel if it is your first time and you find yourself enjoying along the way. Rocking the OVO practice jersey with the OG Anunoby that I just picked up first time wearing it. Very nice, very comfortable. And, it's 2-in-1. You get the black version underneath as well you can wear. So I'm pumped to have that and pumped to have you guys here. Look, I finally got a case for the Fred VanVleet ball that's just been sitting on my desk for the last 6 months. I realized building this that the one I have the Siakam ball in, which is just out of frame here on the side. Actually, is it just in frame? It is just in frame, I think, on the side there. Anyways, I thought the cases were like garbage. I built this one. It's very nice and doesn't break every time I move it. And I realized I built this one wrong and didn't know that for a year and a half, the Siakam one. So that was happy little fix today. But yeah, it looks much better in the case as opposed to just sitting there on the desk in this football like kick holder that's been on for the last little while. Anyways, that's not what's important here. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Yeah, plenty of good stuff to cover today. Finally into the meat. Finally into not the meat necessarily, like the crumbs of the offseason, really. Summer League is done. Free agency's pretty much done. Trade season's pretty much done. Like, we're going to get into training camp, I guess, pretty soon here. But we're about to get into the dog days of the summer, really, where front offices take their vacations, nothing goes down, which means we're ramping up content even further, because of course that's what it means. I'm going to be going live on here. Now we're going to start the twice a week mold. Sometimes I won't be able to fulfill that, but now the goal will be actually to do 2 streams a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, right here on Amateur Sports at this time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Somebody just quickly asked, is a preseason schedule? I'm going to double check. It is out. Let me just double check when preseason is. I'm pretty sure their preseason schedule was announced, but no, I don't see anything on NBA's website, so I'm not sure. Okay. No, we have some. Are these accurate? We have some here. I'm not sure if these are accurate, but apparently we have a game on October 13th at TD Garden. We have a game on October 15th at Scotiabank Arena. The Raptors are doing preseason. I think I saw it was in Montreal this year, so there's going to be some Montreal games. I'm going to imagine those Montreal games are before this, so expect early to like the early mid-ish October is when Raptors preseason starts. So I don't have the exact day that's supposed to begin, but that is a good question. But thank you, everybody, for joining me. We have Terich in chat. I hope I said that correctly. Kexplix in chat. You guys you're hurting me with these names. And Bro Gaming as well in chat. Thank you for joining, guys. Kexplix says, what's your Raptors standing prediction for next year? I haven't really put a ton of thought into standings because there are a lot of really bad teams in the Eastern Conference that are like a clear tier below the Raptors. Like there's teams that are going to be tanking out the gate. You know what I mean? Brooklyn may not even win 20 games this season. The Wizards will probably win just about 20 games this season. Charlotte still aren't very good. Detroit still aren't very good. So, yeah, there might be some wins in the way of the Raptors just because there's a lot of garbage around the Eastern Conference. But, what's important to understand about the Raptors is they're probably good enough to fight for, like, a late play-in tournament position. But they may not want to be, the 9th or 10th seed. So, I think they're very much good enough to be the 9-10 seed, but they may just decide not to be that in a loaded draft class is what it's shaping up to be. So they may just fall back. So not a ton of thought into standing specifically, but as for like a win total for the Raptors, it's currently set at 30.5. I think that's too low, but Raptors did a great job tanking this season and ended up with 27 wins. Or was it 25 wins, wasn't it? 25-57. Yeah, are they 6 wins better? Like, the team is worse than it was the start of last season. No OG, no Siakam. I think they'll win 30. I think they're going to win at least 30. But, yeah, this team clearly knows how to tank. So that's what I'd keep an eye out for. Nancy with a good comment here. Thank you for that. Montreal game is on October 6th. So apparently it's October 6th when we see the start of preseason for the Raptors. I am looking forward to seeing them back in action. It's going to be an exciting season just because of the growth, to see the process of these players developing, but it's also going to be an unexciting season, probably based on the amount of wins the Raptors will get. I really just don't see the whole 40-win thing that the Raptors... That Raptors fans try to claim. Like, it's fun to be excited. I commend you. You want to be excited about the team, but it's going to be really tough to come anywhere near 40 wins. And a reminder, if we're floating high 30s in wins, the Raptors may decide, well, let's stop that and focus on putting our name in the hat for Cooper Flag, right? That's the way it is. Doug, what's going on? A stream OG and a member joining the chat says, didn't realize how Brooklyn was going to be that bad. Well, they were really bad last season. They lost Mikal Bridges. Yeah, they don't. Dennis, where did Dennis Schroeder end up signing? Did he go back to the Lakers? No, he didn't go to the Lakers. Who signed Dennis Schroeder? Is he a free agent? He's still with the Brooklyn Nets. That's not going to be a fun season for Dennis. Brooklyn are really bad. They were really bad last year. They got worse. Brooklyn are going to be really bad. They're going to be tanking out the gate. They're in the mix for the number 1 overall pick. Absolutely. For next season. They're bad, man. I'd be way too emotional to be a GM. Yeah, it can be hard, especially because you build those personal relationships with the guys, but, it's a business. You got to be cutthroat, which is why you say it's hard to do that. Like think about Masai with DeMar DeRozan. He told DeMar he wasn't going to trade him, but the opportunity presented itself to acquire Kawhi Leonard. And unfortunately for DeMar, the rest is history, and the Raptors have won an NBA championship as a result. Nancy says, what do you think about Ochai Agbaji from Summer League? I'll talk a little bit about Ochai Agbaji. We're going to get to, we'll do a full segment on that. We're going to get to that. I'll go a little bit more in depth. It was disappointing. It was disappointing, to say the least. Third-year guy in Summer League should probably look way too good to be playing with those guys in Summer League, and if anything, in certain circumstances, he didn't look good enough for Summer League. So that's not very good. Who's going to come to the Raptors from the G League onto the roster? Brandon Carlson's 2-way contract. That's one to look out for. I'd love to see Shamshay get some NBA minutes just to see how he competes with that additional physicality. That would be really interesting to see as well. Other than that, Tyler Perry's on Exhibit 10. I didn't love what I saw from Tyler Perry in Summer League. Jamison Battle, didn't see NBA quality in Summer League from him, so I'm not sure other than that. But I would look out for Brandon Carlson getting a double duty on some occasions, especially with the lack of centers in the Raptors roster that wasn't addressed in the offseason. Sasha says, you don't really want to be too good or too bad, or you won't get a high draft pick if you're the Raptors. Yeah, that's what I mean, They want to be competitive. They want to try and win, but they have to understand that this is a rebuild, Doug says, even the Norm trade I would have struggled with. I have a soft spot for guys who clearly want to be here. Yeah, I think everyone does. It was tough. The trade at the time made sense, but it obviously didn't work out. It would have been better to keep Norm. But yeah, it's a cutthroat business. I mean, I saw some stories today that I was reminded of that when the Raptors made that trade in 2019 with the Memphis Grizzlies to get Marc Gasol, the Raptors were pushing to trade Kyle Lowry to Memphis in that trade and get Mike Conley in return. I mean, who knows what happens if that trade goes down. Do the Raptors still win? Was Lowry the connective piece that made them as good as they were? Would they have been even better with Mike Conley? I don't know. Thankfully, it didn't go down. Thankfully, Kyle Lowry's a Raptors legend, the greatest Raptor of all time, and the Raptors won a championship. I believe everything really has to fall into place, the butterfly effect, all that. The Raptors, I think they needed Kyle Lowry to win that championship. So happy that never materialized. But yeah, imagine trading a guy with as much of an impact as Kyle Lowry. Trading Kyle and DeMar in the same year, that would have been tough. But thankfully, it didn't happen. Thankfully, Raptors were NBA champions. Skywalking joining us. What's happening? Nothing much. Happy to be here. I'm glad you guys are joining me as well. So Hush says, kind of good that Trent left, more time for you guys to develop. That's how I see it as well. Save that money. Don't worry about paying Trent. And Jacoby Walter, Grady Dick, get a bigger role. Kexplex says, when are you gonna do another? When am I gonna go to another Raptors game? So I live walking distance to Scotiabank Arena, and I did not go to a single game last season. And I don't think I went the year before. I think it's 2 full seasons now without going to a single game. It's expensive, first of all. The team is not great, second of all. I mean, I like watching I watch every game regardless. It's expensive, and if I go to a game, I'm not streaming. Like I really enjoy doing the watch parties, right? So if I'm at the game, I can't do the watch party. So I have to justify missing the watch party and paying the crazy ticket prices. So for me, I just enjoy watching from my monitor here with you guys. Games I look for every year. I think about going to the Lakers game every year because I want to see LeBron play, but there's always a risk LeBron doesn't play. Typically, he doesn't play when he comes to Toronto, so I have to kind of worry about that. Other than that, if a friend wants to bring me, I'll go. But yeah, I'm happy to stay home and watch the games, in all honesty. But nice little report to start. Let's get into the meat of things here. Let's start off with the big news from Raptors and their ventures into the offseason. I guess you have been to a 9-5 game more recently. No. The year I had Raptors 9-5. Well, yes, that is true. I went to their playoff game a few years ago, but the year I had Raptors 9-5 season tickets, I did go to quite a few Raptors games that season. I think like 4 I went to. So yeah, I have been to a 9-5 game more recently than a Raptors game. That's the way it is. But diving into things here, on the second channel, I spoke about the cap implications of the Sasha Vezenkov, waiving Sasha Vezenkov and waiving Javon Freeman-Liberty. But I wanted to focus on the actual trade that brought Sasha Vezenkov and other things to the Raptors and discuss how even though we consider that to be a monumental win at the time, this trade somehow just keeps on getting better and better and better, and buying out Sasha Vezenkov is the latest thing that turns this grand slam into, I don't even know what's even better than that, but that's where we're at. So we had the whole news when the Raptors, right before the second round of the NBA draft, they made the trade. They made the big trade that got off Jalen McDaniels. And the wonder of this trade when it initially broke was that, oh my God, we got off Jalen McDaniels. I remember thinking through the offseason up until that point, it is what it is. Jalen McDaniels on a biannual exception, waste of that exception, waste of money, $4.5 million. He's dead weight. But you just got to eat that. You just got to pay that. It is what it is. Maybe you can consider buying him out, but the team's not really good enough to justify paying him $4.5 million to not play here. So the unfortunate reality is that Jalen McDaniels will probably be here for another season. And I say this how unfortunate it would have been it's because you look at the last season for the Raptors, they were tanking. They won 25 games. And even amidst the worst period for this team, where they were tanking, losing, 16 games in a row, decimated by injuries. Even in those stages, Jalen McDaniels could not lock down a regular rotation spot. Unbelievably. The fact that the Raptors got anything of value out of that contract is astonishing. But beyond that, to get what they got from the Sacramento Kings, if you need a reminder, the Raptors got Davion Mitchell, who is a good defensive point guard, who started to show flashes of the three-point shooting that made him a lottery pick a few years ago. Now, obviously, it's in the last year of his rookie contract. The Raptors have to pay him at the end of the season, but still, the Raptors needed a backup point guard. They needed defense, especially point of attack defense. They really sorted that out. And if David Mitchell continues to ascend a little bit from three, this is a great player to have coming off your bench. On top of that, they got Sasha Vezenkov, who we'll discuss a little bit more in just a second here. But they also got the 45th overall pick, which they ended up using to draft Jamal Shed. And as this trade broke, it was kind of in stages. We got David Mitchell, Sasha Vezenkov. Wow. We got David Mitchell and Sasha Vezenkov for Jalen McDaniels, who I discussed as a player. That's amazing. Wait, we also got the 45th overall pick? That's even better. And then just when I already thought this was too good to be true, I saw the report there was another trade involved, another pick involved in the trade. I'm like, okay, we gave up something. We gave up the 31st overall pick. It is what it is. No. We got another pick. And we got a second round pick for next year from Portland. Like two highly valuable second round picks, along with David Mitchell, who I've explained, and Sasha Vezenkov. So here is where the Raptors had to pay in this trade, because they didn't pay when they got rid of Jalen McDaniels. Where they had to pay was on Sasha Vezenkov. He was about to make $6.6 million for the upcoming season guaranteed. That was what the Raptors had to eat in order to get David Mitchell and to get these picks. Now, even with that in mind, like just a full year of paying an extra $2 million for Sasha Vezenkov, even if he wasn't going to play with the team, whatever the situation was going to be, that was still a home run sort of trade that the Raptors have made. Like, that is one of the best trades, maybe the best trade, honestly. Like, when you consider what we gave up versus what we got, the value added on that trade, the wins added from that trade, that might be the best trade besides Yuri's ever made. Now, the best trade probably, we talk about the Kawhi Leonard one, the Marcus Gasol, all that. But in the post-Kawhi era, this is the best trade the Toronto Raptors have made, and I don't think there's any sort of discussion involving that. But the situation started brewing with Sasha Vezenkov on the team, because he came to the team. There were question marks about if he wanted to be with the Kings, if he wanted to go back to Europe, and the Kings just wanted to get off that contract. They wanted to open up cap space. They wanted to be aggressive in the offseason to go after a guy like, DeMar DeRozan, who they ended up getting. And perhaps without this trade, they wouldn't have been able to make that happen. But even with having to eat the Sasha Vezenkov contract in mind, like I said, still a fantastic trade. But shortly after he arrived, I was talking about, with a little bit of excitement, honestly, the possibility of the Raptors using Vezenkov, because it didn't really work out with the Kings. But I'm thinking, okay, I hate to use the simple European connection, but Darko Rajakovic has experience coaching in Europe. Perhaps he's the type of guy who's going to get a bit more out of Vezenkov, who can be a bit of a stretch forward for us. Just add a bit of shooting off the bench. Not a huge role, but a bit of shooting off the bench. I was kind of excited for the potential of using him in rotation on the Raptors' thin roster next season. But shortly after he arrived, the reports came out that he was going to sign a contract with Olympiacos in Greece, which doesn't make sense because he was a current Toronto Raptors player. So how the situation started to brew, Vezenkov wanted to go to Greece. The Raptors wanted to keep him, but were willing to let him go, but didn't want to pay that full $6.6 million to make it happen, which was Sasha Vezenkov's contract, as we said. Vezenkov had to leverage because he could have retired. Taking a year off, the Raptors would be on the hook for the whole money towards the cap. So what usually happens in these situations is you buy out the player for like maybe half the contract, $2 to $3 million, let's say, in this situation, and then they go to Europe. But the Raptors held firm. They weren't going to let that happen. And in the end, Sasha Vezenkov is bought out for $0. He forfeited the entire $6.6 million to go back to Europe to play with Olympiacos, go back to play with the team that was part of his success over in the EuroLeague, over in those FIBA competitions. Astonishingly, like, this just doesn't happen, paying $0. So when we think about this trade right now, like I've already given you a glowing review on that trade from a Raptors perspective. The only thing the Raptors had to pay for in this trade, because they were probably considering buying, they weren't going to do it, but they probably at least floated the idea of buying out Jalen McDaniels, right? Like, he was absolutely useless to have, and he takes up $4.5 million. They gave that away. And in return, essentially, the penalty for the Kings taking that contract was you have to pay the Sasha Vezenkov contract, or you have to figure out that buyout situation. That was the only penalty in the trade. Well, now, $0. There is no penalty. The Raptors traded a player they probably would have just given away for nothing and got Davion Mitchell, who's going to be their backup point guard, Jamal Shed, who will fight for a backup point guard spot, and a pretty valuable second-round pick in the Portland Trail Blazers 2025 second-round pick. And for Jalen McDaniels. Like, this is unbelievable. Like, you really have to question what the Sacramento Kings were thinking. Now, timing is important. Look, it's July. We're in the. This would have happened July 22nd. The Kings have already sorted out getting DeMar DeRozan. Perhaps they needed to make this trade in order to facilitate that happening and acquiring DeMar DeRozan. But even still, you really have to wonder. Like when the trade broke, it was just like I couldn't react to it. It was one of those too good to be true moments. When so they say when it's too good to be true, when you think it's too good to be true, it probably is. That's what I was thinking. What else did we give up to get this to happen? Because to this day, it still doesn't make any sense. Because that trade was so good in the moment. And we look at it today, after the Vezenkov buyout. The saga is over. And it's just even better. It was already so good. It was already like an 14 out of 10 trade. And now it's even better. It truly is astonishing. The Raptors definitely have dug themselves a bit of a hole in the last few years. But yeah, decisions like this, situations like this are really starting to dig ourselves out of it. What an amazing piece of business by the Raptors to make this trade, and insane work by Masai Ujiri's front office to get off Vezenkov's contract completely for free. It's crazy, man. Geo Sage also says the Vezenkov buyout arguably makes the trade. Yeah, not argue. Like it's even better. Like it's just even better. Yeah, obviously in chat there was a fake trade report. Yeah, Jordan Poole and Tyus Jones wrapped. I really don't think so. Could you imagine if we acquired Jordan Poole? Oh, gross. Just gross. How many? Like you could make if you made the trade believable, I could have bought it. You know, like if you told me Raptors use most of the mid-level exception on Tyus Jones, that's believable. You know, that's not believable. Yeah. Oh my God, this is just foul. This is foul. 30 million, 32 million, no, 33 million-ish per year. No, whatever. 32-ish million a year per year for the next 3 years for Jordan Poole. Gross, disgusting stuff. Trade the Bruce Brown contract for an even worse contract. No way. They were about to give us something pretty crazy as far as the trade is concerned, pick-wise. Yeah, second-round pick, my ass. They got to give us like 2 first-round picks for that trade. We have 11-ish million to believe, I believe, under the tax, which is great. It's not the full mid-level. I saw from when I looked it up, it was 11. Not quite the full mid-level, but the Raptors. So I kind of talked about it in the video I did on the second channel today, but for this as well, I think they're better served saving a lot of that for a Bruce Brown trade. It makes it a whole lot easier if the Raptors can take back additional cap in that trade, which they would be able to do by holding on to this cap space, being a little bit of a cap space team throughout the season. You won't have to perfectly match salaries with Bruce Brown. You can take back that those additional funds. That's probably going to be significant to actually getting a trade to materialize. And it makes their situation, they gain a lot more leverage from their situation because, okay, we're taking on all this additional cap, maybe that strengthens the draft pick they can get out of that trade. So for me, I mean, look, it's July 23rd. It's not like there's a big crop of free agents available. Unless you're going for maybe Tyus Jones, where I think that's great because, look, you get Tyus Jones for 1 year. Say, hey, we'll give you a 1 year deal. We'll look to trade you by the deadline, send you to a contender, and then you can build up your value for next season. That could be something to explore potentially. That could be something that they look to. But I don't know. Is Tyus Jones enticed by that? Who knows? I don't know what the market value is right now out there for Tyus Jones. But for me, the best way to go about it would be to just hold on to that cap space, use it for that Bruce Brown trade down the line. One thing I was not aware of is Raptors can use the mid-level as a trade exception, which is really cool, to the new CBA. Oh, well, that's even better. I mean, yeah, that makes it even better. I didn't know you could do that for a trade exception. That is really cool. I agree. That's how I would describe it. That is really cool. Yeah, so this whole situation has worked out just amazingly. I mean, everything's turning up Raptors as far as the Vezenkov trade is concerned. Truly awesome work by the Raptors front office. I've been getting DMs the last 2 weeks from Greek reporters who cover Olympiacos, who have been really excited about the potential of Vezenkov going back to Greece. And man, Greek fans are really pumped to have Vezenkov back. The situation really worked out for everybody. I think Vezenkov is going to be a lot happier. He left some money on the table, but he's still making $3.5 million. I think I saw his salary would be in Greece. Olympiacos get their king back, basically. Raptors save all that money. It's awesome. And we still have a $7 million what's TP? A trade exception. A traded player exceptions. Oh. So there we go. We got flexibility, I guess. Trading Schroeder gave us flexibility. This gives us flexibility. Trade exception gives us flexibility. Traded player exception gives us flexibility. This is all starting to work out. Now it's going to be a tough season, so look out for that. But things are starting to turn a little bit in the right way. You know, you feel happy about the way things are going out. But we did get our first look at a lot of the newest Raptors and potentially where the team is heading at Summer League. So I wanted to give as much of a recap as I can of the 5 games the Raptors played in Summer League. There were some good moments, and there were definitely some bad moments associated with NBA Summer League, but here are the 3 biggest takeaways that I did get from it. First of all, I did want to discuss Grady Dick. It was very clear that takeaway number 1 is Grady Dick is very good. And it's very refreshing to see because last year in Summer League, things didn't go exactly the way we wanted to go for Grady Dick. It was a bit of a mixed bag in terms of his efficiency, had a bit of a shooting slump, and that shooting slump that Grady Dick had in Summer League spilled a little bit into the NBA regular season. It also eventually spilled into the G League, and it had some Raptors fans kind of setting off the fire alarms about Grady Dick, drafting him with the 13th overall pick with a lot of good players around him. You know, you look at Keontae George, Jordan Hawkins, Cam Whitmore, who went after him, Brandon Podjemski, et cetera, et cetera. All these players went after him. The Raptors fans were seeing out the gates playing very well, thinking, wow, you know, how do we get stuck with Grady Dick here? But I always maintained my confidence in the player. He was doing a lot of great things. Just a three-point shooting that wasn't there. He wasn't knocking down the shots, but had the belief that a guy who for 18 years, all he did was knock down threes, had belief he was going to start doing that eventually, and when he did, he became an important player near the end of the season for the Raptors, and I think his role is only going to grow, especially with Gary Trent Jr. leaving the team in free agency, eventually signing with the Milwaukee Bucks. But we saw the Raptors start out great in the Summer League. Well, I remember getting hyped up for the roster that the Raptors had for Summer League. I mean, it was an insane roster. A lot of great players. Abaji in his 3rd year. You had Brandon Carlson, who we had just signed on a 2-way deal. DJ Carton with NBA experience. You had Javon Freeman-Liberty with NBA experience. Grady Dick in his 2nd season. Probably even too good to be playing in Summer League. New picks, Jacoby Walter, Jamal Shed, Jonathan Mobo, Ulrich Shamshe, and even at the time, Drew Timme was on the roster. Now, he eventually decided to play elsewhere. I believe it was with the Sacramento Kings, but yeah, I was really excited about the possibilities of Summer League, and that excitement grew when the Raptors started out 2-0 in that Summer League. But that's when the injuries happened to Jonathan Mobo, but in particular, it happened to Grady Dick. Things fell off the rails. The Raptors got pretty much dismantled in their next 3 games. Some late surges made the scorelines look a little bit better, like we had in the 11-point loss, which was eventually in the 5th game to the San Antonio Spurs. The Raptors rallied late to make it as close as that was. So it was very clear that Grady Dick's floor spacing was very essential to this team. And we really saw it in his first Summer League game as well, where he had 18 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals. Like just incredible numbers overall there for Grady Dick in a 91-69 victory there. Wish we would have seen him throughout Summer League to see his performances. Wish we could have seen, how good the Summer League team could have performed had he stayed healthy. But perhaps the injury wasn't super serious. Perhaps the Raptors in the first 2 games with Grady Dick had seen what they needed to see to confirm, all right, let's not risk injury with this guy. Clearly, he's ready to take on the next season. Because Grady Dick, even with the slump shooting numbers that we had at the start of the season, still produced a very nice season for the Raptors. Obviously, his minutes bulked up later on in the season, during the tank, during all the injuries, but he finished with 8.5 points per game, 43% shooting from the field, which needs to improve, but man, he shot the hell of the ball from 3, 4 attempts per game, and he averaged nearly 37% shooting from 3. That's a great sign, and that's would the slump at the start of the season factored into these statistics as well. Yeah, it's exciting times to see what the Raptors will be able to do with Grady Dick on their team down the line. Clearly, he is very good. That's the number one takeaway from Summer League. But also from Summer League, what was great is that we really got the fulfillment of the acknowledgement from the front office that the best way to build this team, the best way to build up the Raptors is through the draft. The Raptors for years have been trading away picks in the hope of turning this team of, with respect, relative nothingness into something. It was a team stuck in purgatory, not good enough to be a real playoff team, not bad enough to get a good draft pick, and continuing to sacrifice picks in hopes of being something greater. It just wasn't working. It's so confusing. You look back on the championship team, the amount of that championship team that was built through the draft, like getting Kawhi Leonard, that was because the Raptors drafted DeMar DeRozan. But one of the key reasons the Raptors won the championship is their scouting team finding championship caliber players, and they were still on rookie contracts in that era. Like Siakam, the second best player on that championship team, was on a rookie contract. Fred VanVleet stole a Finals MVP vote off Kawhi on a rookie contract. OG was injured, but part of that roster. Rookie contract. Norman Powell, rookie contract. The Raptors, they clearly know how to scout. They clearly know how to find talent in the draft, or even as an undrafted free agent for some cases. They seriously know how to develop players. So why forfeit your ability to draft players so often? Especially when you factor in that they're not great at attracting free agents on top of that. So what did they do in the 2024 offseason? They took those comments to heart, and they decided the way we're going to build this team is through the draft. And by God, they did that. They drafted 4 players. They had 2 picks at the start of the draft. They ended it with 4 picks. They traded for the 45th pick, which got Jamal Shed, and they made a late trade to get the 57th overall pick and draft Ulrich Shamshay. But they also got Jacoby Walter with the 19th overall pick and Jonathan Mobo with the 31st overall pick. Promising signs for all 4 players. Certainly a little bit to be desired in some certain circumstances. For Walter, 3-point consistency. But we saw with Grady Dick, that wasn't indicative of who the player was. Jonathan Mobo, we think about the size. Is he going to be good enough to be an NBA big with that size? We shall see. Jamal Shed, how consistent will his shooting be? And Shamshay, he's a raw prospect, but we certainly saw some good signs there. This is the way for the Raptors to build their roster, and thankfully they understand this, especially going into a couple of key drafts that are projected to be very strong, not only in 2025, but 2026. We're out of the shackles of the picks potentially conveying to the San Antonio Spurs, which means the Raptors have the ability, if they would choose, to trade any future pick, basically, that they have, any future first that they have. But hopefully this is a sign that there is an understanding that the draft is where they're going to get better, and they keep those picks. And I think that this draft was a good sign that that is going to be the case. That is the second takeaway. Third takeaway, unfortunately, is that we're going to build to the draft, but it's going to take a while. There's going to be a hunger and a desire for guys like R.J. Barrett, who's already on a big contract, Manu Quickly, who just signed a big contract, and Scotty Barnes, whose big contract kicks in next season after recently signing his rookie max extension. There's going to be a desire to be good right away. There's going to be a desire to try and win games right away, but it just probably isn't going to happen that quickly. The way this kind of relates to Summer League is the type of players that are there that are going to fill out this roster. A player playing in Summer League, Jacoby Walter, as much as I have belief in him for the future, it's not going to happen right away. We saw where there could be some weaknesses from the start. We saw a lot of great things that suggest those weaknesses will not be weaknesses down the line, but they could be out the gate. And the same can be said for the other draft picks. But another guy who's going to have a key role for this team is Ochai Agbaji, who is going into his third NBA season here. Was drafted in the lottery by the Cleveland Cavaliers a couple of years ago. And the Raptors just lack big wing defenders, so they got to use Agbaji. But the way Agbaji played in that Summer League, unfortunately, does not give a ton of confidence into what he can bring this season. There's just not somebody coming out the traps like Jacoby Walter, who you can understand there being maybe a bit of an adjustment phase to the physicality, the new three-point line. But Agbaji was the seasoned vet of this Summer League team. And typically, with third-year guys going to Summer League, I mean, you got to look way too good to be there. Like, if you're there as a third-year player, you got to be too good for them. And that just wasn't the case. And in some cases, it kind of felt like he wasn't even good enough for some certain circumstances. So that's got to fix up. That's definitely got to be a lot better going into the upcoming season for Agbaji. But I don't want to make this full segment about him, but if we look at the depth chart for this roster, like the starting five is decent. You've got Quickly, Grady Dick, who I think should start ahead of Bruce Brown, Scotty Barnes, R.J. Barrett, Jakob Poeltl. It's a bit thin beyond that. Like David Mitchell, as much as I like him, good pickup for backup center. We'll see if that three-point shot's going to be consistent. Obviously, a good defender, but three-point shot consistency on offense. We'll see if it's there. Jacoby Walter, there might be some growing pains, like I said with the player. Agbaji's there. Olynyk is there. There's just certain holes there. There's holes on defense, especially in the rim protection, especially if Jakob Poeltl goes down. So we're banking on youth. We're banking on young guys, like I said in takeaway number 2. But this whole situation is going to be a process. Process is kind of an icky word at this point because of the way it was tainted by Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers. But that's the reality. It is going to be a little bit of a process. But hopefully, we can find the light and the silver linings along the way to make it that little bit more enjoyable and make those good times that are hopefully not too far away all the much more sweeter when we get there. But yeah, Summer League, it's not everything, but it's not nothing either. We definitely learned some things from it. Bruce Brown should not be in this team. Well, hey, waiving Sasha Vezenkov makes it easier to trade him. So there's potential there for the Raptors to do something. There's a potential there for the Raptors to get something out of Bruce Brown. And it's more likely to get something out of Bruce Brown at this point, given that flexibility that was added by buying out Sasha Vezenkov for $0. Once again, we're going to repeat an absolute masterstroke by the Raptors front office. Still in disbelief to this point about how they managed to get that one to go down. Let's sign a $10 million player and hope to have him start next to power forward. Okay, good idea. I'm a fun guy. Name the player. Name the player worth $10 million who the Raptors should sign with the money that they just freed up. Because I don't think that player exists, especially at power forward. If they did exist, Philadelphia would have signed him probably. Gargone, if I said that correctly. So prediction number wins this year. I don't want to give you guys my prediction because my prediction will be with the assumption the Raptors tank. And if the Raptors tank, they're going to win about 30 games. So, yeah. Kind of unfortunate there. Jonathan Isaac's available. Jonathan Isaac would be a decent one. You'd win if you said Jonathan Isaac. He is under contract, if I'm not mistaken, with the Orlando Magic. Let me just reaffirm let's just get confirmation there. Jonathan Isaac not only is under contract with the Orlando Magic, he will be for the next 4 years. Yeah. You can't sign Jonathan Isaac. I thought he had signed an extension. He's making 25 this year, and then he's making a whole lot more. Not more than that, but he's making money after that as well. Unfortunately, can't be Jonathan Isaac. Hawks getting number 1 pick shows you can avoid tanking and still get a good pick. Yeah, it's a one-off circumstance. I mean, Detroit Pistons were the worst team in the NBA back-to-back years, ended up with the 5th overall pick back-to-back years. It shows that you can tank and get a bad pick as well. It's all a crapshoot, right? It doesn't really make a difference. But you give yourself a better chance on a year-to-year basis by being lower, I wouldn't go as far as Anchor and Chat is saying this team is so bad, but it's not as good as you think it is, I think, for some people. It's probably going to be a bit of a rude awakening for some. Like, it's fun. It's a lot of fun players. But, yeah, the NBA is competitive. Maybe not as much in the East, which will give us some free wins, but it's not a great team. Jorge Molina says, can't wait for the season, preseason and season. Me neither. I will enjoy the time off, but I think in a couple of weeks, I'm going to really feel like I want to get going again. Jorge also says, we need a good bench piece. I trust Masai. Bench is decent. They can defend a little. Some like Brown can score. It's a better lineup than people talk about. Oof. I don't think it's a better line than people are talking about. Why trade Brown? Because the team probably won't be that good, and you get something for him instead of nothing at the end of the season when he's a free agent. So that's why. I disagree that you need to rush the Bruce Brown trade that some people think, but you do and probably should trade Bruce Brown down the line. John that would be a fun player to get, but again, he signed his extension with the Magic. That's what I saw. Hot take, but I think Masai and Bobby need to be gone. I don't agree. I was never at the point where I think the Raptors should have fired them. I was really close for a while, but they're making a lot of good decisions lately to dig themselves out of things. It's clear, they're smart. They maybe got too attached to their core players of the past. That was definitely a knock on them, but they're doing a great job in digging themselves out. They didn't do horribly in the Siakam trade. They did fantastically in the OG trade. I cannot verbalize how good of a trade the Jalen McDaniels trade was. So they're making some good decisions. They did well with the draft, I think, and hopefully has proven over the next little bit how good that draft was, but Ferdinand says 38 wins max. Yeah, see, I'm with you there. If everything goes well, 38 wins is probably the height of this team. But you have to remember, if this team is close to 38 wins, they'll probably think to themselves, it's better to win 30 than 38. If they're floating in 34-win territory, they're going to think, well, why push for 38 when we can sit back and give ourselves a better opportunity in the very strong 2025 draft class. It's probably the way the season will go based on my expectations. It's just, yes, they're good enough to win, maybe push 40, but they probably don't want to win that many games. They can win 45. It's a whole different story, but I don't think they can, even if they are completely healthy, and they probably won't be, and it's a very thin team. If Pirtle gets injured, we are fucked. Look how bad they were last season. If Pirtle gets injured, there's nobody who's doing that job. Nobody's protecting the rim. I'm kind of hoping Christian Koloko gets cleared to come back. That would be an excellent, excellent signing if he can come back. And he was with the Raptors players at Summer League, so maybe something's there. Although I think last year at Summer League was Jalen Harris with the Raptors guys. Was it the year before? I was like, well, will he come back? And he didn't. Is he still in the CEBL, or did he go play abroad now? What's Jalen Harris saying? He plays with Saskatchewan in the CEBL. Good for him. What's Malachi Flynn doing right now? Who did he get? He didn't even get a Summer League team. I mean, he's fifth-year player. He ain't getting a Summer League team. He's 26. It says he's with the Detroit Pistons. I don't believe that's the case. I believe Malachi Flynn did not get an extension with the Detroit Pistons of any sort. I am correct. Yeah, I don't know. They were drafted same year, which is why I just brought that up. I've been following next year's draft class. What are some standout names in it? Cooper Flagg. Wow, he looks really, 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 really good. I haven't done. Look, we just got out of the last draft. We're a month out of that. I ain't going into the 2025 draft yet, but yeah, Cooper Flagg. You want to give yourself a chance. Everyone's already really high, and then I saw some clips of him with Team USA's Olympic preparations. He's not going, but he was practicing with them, and didn't look at a place with some of the best players in the game. Wow, he looks really good at basketball. Flagg could play in the NBA today. Looks like it, yeah, and he's going to be in the NBA next year when he's even better. That is a player teams are going to be tanking for. There's going to be a lot of really bad teams this year because they know, okay, like we probably should have taken the Wemby draft more seriously. Let's not fuck this one up. Let's take this tank seriously. And Brooklyn are going to be the team that does that if anybody does it. But, yeah, that's pretty much all that I have for you guys today. Any final thoughts? Please let me know. But that will do it for the show for today. So as I said, going to try. So I moved into my place a week and a half ago. Took a bit of time off of the second channel to prep for the move and finalize the move. Now it's pretty much finalized. Really want to get the schedule going where YouTube videos are coming out on the main channel on this channel Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Streams Tuesday, Thursday on this channel. That's what you get when you subscribe to Amateur Sports. If you're watching and enjoying, by the way, make sure you hit that like button. On the second channel, I'd really like to get to a point where it's Tuesday, Thursday every week. Videos coming out. Weekends I take off now because I just really need the wind down that the weekend brings. So no weekend content unless something significant happens, which from time to time it does. But I would love to get Tuesday, Thursday streams, Tuesday, Thursday videos second channel, Monday, Wednesday, Friday videos on the main channel as well. I think that's a good base for content and 3 clips a week on the reactions channel to go with it. Make sure you're subscribed to Amateur Sports, this channel. Make sure you're subscribed to Amateur Sports 2, my second channel. And make sure you're subscribed to Amateur Hour Reactions. It's the best stream clips and highlights from these streams here. You can't catch all these streams. I don't expect you to, but if you want to see the best little nuggets that we have from them, check out Amateur Hour Reactions. My editor, Adam, puts a lot of work and dedication to getting those videos out. So I think that it would really be enjoyable for you guys if you don't catch it live to just get those and to get a little bit of editing on the side as well for those videos. Cam Johnson did 2 is nice. Well, yeah, it would be nice. There's a lot of players who'd be nice to have. You got to get them somehow. You can't just get them. So I would like Cam Johnson, but you can't just get these guys, you know. He would be great. He'd fit really well. You'd be a bit positionless, which I think is awesome, and you'd have a lot of switchability. But what would you give up? You'd have to give up picks, and I don't want to give up picks. I talked about how much I wanted to use those picks for the future. You know what I'm saying? But that will do it. Yeah, that is it. Thank you guys for joining. Appreciate it. Usually these streams will go about an hour, but I'm pretty good with where today ended off. Hopefully you did enjoy. Reminder to hit that like button if you did. Make sure you're back tomorrow for the video we have coming out. I'm going to be talking about my predictions for the team in 2025. What do I expect them to do? What do I expect the result? How many wins? What position? I'll have more thoughts on what we initially already discussed from today's video in that one. Hope to see you there. Hope everybody's a great middle portion of your week. Check out the video tomorrow, and I'll chat with you again on stream on